Hi everyone, this is David from Fastgen. Today we're going to do a step-by-step building guide of an API endpoint. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to create an API that is going to check for weather. More specifically, we want to know whenever we call this endpoint if the weather currently in Rome or Amsterdam is warmer. Here are the actions that we're going to use. We're going to use HTTP requests, variables, if conditions. I'm going to set the output of the endpoint as a Slack message, and we're going to use the debug mode to optimize the API. If you have questions, are interested in any of those action blocks, have struggled with any of those, then this video is definitely for you, as we're going to look at all of them. Okay, let's build the endpoint together. So in here, gonna give it a name, check weather, gonna do the URL path of just weather, gonna turn it to public route. So pretty much anyone with the access to the endpoint can just call it. Now we need the weather of those two cities. So we need an HTTP request to call outside third-party service to get the weather. And one service that does that is Open Weather. They have an API that you can call. It's right here. It has two variables in the URL. On one hand, the city ID and the API key. For the city ID, they provided JSON with all of the cities in the world. I already got the IDs for Amsterdam and Rome to save us some time. If you're building this with me together, you would have to use your own API key here at the end, which you can find in your settings of the account. So we're going to copy over this endpoint and going to enter the URL here. As I said, I already got the ID of Rome in my notes, so I'm just going to copy paste it over. I'm going to change it here, and I'm going to put my API key of Open Weather here at the end. All right, now we save this. We call it get Rome weather. No, capitalize Rome. And then we're going to put a success message at the end, which we're just going to call success. And here we're just going to say success true for the time being. All right, let's deploy it. And now the API is live under this URL. Let's go to the debug mode to send a first test request. That looks good. Everything's green. It went through. Success is saying true. And let's see what kind of output we got. So this is the output we received from the Open Weather API. We are just interested in one data point, and that is the current weather in Rome. Let's find that. It will be under body, under main, and then temp. So this should be the current temperature of Rome. Looks like Kelvin to me. We're not interested in the actual weather, so we don't have to transform it into Celsius, for example. We just want to know which city is warmer. So this is what we're interested in. What we're going to do now is we're going to change the success message right here to what we just saw, and we're going to access the output of this action with steps get Rome weather outputs. And we have to put at the end, this would just return all of the payload of this. But what we want is just a specific data key. So we're going to put outputs.body.main.temp to get this specific data key. And let's deploy it. Jump into debug mode, and let's send another test request and look into our success message. And here we go. This is what we're looking for. So we now know how to access the specific key that we're interested in this payload. What I want to do before we add the weather of Amsterdam is that I want to assign a variable to make it a little more clean. It's not absolutely necessary, but it's better to do it this way. And it's just a nicer way of doing it. I'm going to call this variable Rome weather because I know that this receives all of the different information about Rome, but I just want to know the weather. So I'm going to say, okay, the steps get Rome weather.outputs and then the .body.main.temp is Rome weather. Yeah, that's just the data key that we're interested in. And I'm going to this is also not necessary, but we're going to do it for the sake of it. Change this to true again. All right, so we have the Rome weather and we have a variable assigned to it. As a next step, we want the Amsterdam weather. So we call this get Amsterdam weather. We're going to use the exact same API or the exact same URL as for Rome, but we have to change the city ID. And I'm going to go back to my notes to copy over the city ID of Amsterdam. It's right here. Again, if you're building with me, just pause real quick to see the ID, copy paste it to your flow. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to do the same thing and assign a variable. And here we are going to look for steps get Amsterdam weather outputs. And I'm going to do the same body.main.temp. Since we're using the same API for Rome and Amsterdam weather, we can just assume that the payload is going to look the same. If it would be a new API or different one, I would double check what the payload looks like exactly to assign the variable correctly. So here I'm going to put Amsterdam weather, assign that variable, and yeah, let's see if that worked. We're going to put a quick Slack message and say ping, yeah, and we're going to use weather, and we're going to put Amsterdam first, and then we're going to put Rome. For Amsterdam, we're now looking for this variable right here, Amsterdam weather, Amsterdam weather value. This is what we want. Going to copy paste it over here. For Rome, we're going to do the same, looking for the specific variable, steps.rome value right here, and we're going to save. Let's deploy it and send another test request to see if that worked out for us. Okay, that looks good. The new action blocks are also now in the debug mode. Let's go to Slack and see if the ping works. And it does. It's providing us with the current weather of Amsterdam and Rome, which looks good. What I'm interested in, however, is not the actual temperature. I want to know which city is warmer, and I don't want to read through it all the time. So I'm going to delete this ping, actually, because it's not quite doing what I want. I want an if condition where I say, let's just call this weather if. And in here, I'm going to put both variables. I'm going to put the Rome weather.value. Yeah, .value always indicates that it's the variable. Steps get Rome weather outputs would be the whole output of this. So I'm going to check if the actual weather of Rome, the current weather of Rome, is bigger or larger than the weather of Amsterdam value. Yeah, this is our variable of Amsterdam. Gonna save. Whenever that is true, whenever Rome is larger, I want a Slack ping, yeah, and say Rome wins. Gonna use the weather channel and say Rome is warmer. Whenever this if condition is not true, we can automatically assume that Amsterdam wins, and we say Amsterdam is warmer. Let's save that and deploy. Gonna have to debug mode again and send a test route. We see it's added now, and this looks good. It looks like Rome is currently warmer, and here's the new ping. Rome is in fact warmer right now. So we know this API is now working. We can either call it manually, we can put it behind a button of a front end. If you want to build a nice app that says Rome or Amsterdam, give me the weather, you click the button, it's going to tell you which city is warmer. If we don't want to do any of that, I can show you one little thing. We can hop to workflows and create a time-based workflow. So pretty much a cron job. Because I don't want to call this API manually all the time. I want a notification. Let's say once a day at noon, I want to be notified if Amsterdam or Rome is warmer at this point in time. Yeah, so I'm going to put an HTTP request. I have to give this a name. Let's say time-based weather check. Save it. And what we do is we are going to go back to the APIs, back to the route that we just built, copy paste the URL to the clipboard, go to workflows, and then just call the very API. Let's just say call Fastgen API. We call this API once a day at noon, and we deploy it. So this workflow is now live. Every day at noon, this API will be called, and this will then notify our Slack channel if either Rome or Amsterdam is warmer. We can do a lot of different things here. We can put the results in a database through a database action to just get a history of all days, for example, in which either Rome or Amsterdam was warmer, and then make an analysis of that after a year to decide for our next vacation. There are very much more things that we can do here. We're going to leave it at this for now. I hope this was helpful and insightful. If you have any questions, put it in the comments section or reach out to us on Community Slack. Looking forward to talking with you, having you on the platform, and take care. Bye-bye.